The CCP is closing the doors and locking up, strictly controlling people leaving the country. What exactly is the reason for this? Over the weekend, there was a massive amount of discussion online. This could really affect most of us who came from mainland China. And another thing is, you might say, I have a foreign passport. Do I need to worry about this? Well, this is also a topic we're going to explore in depth today. Also, the Fed chairman made some shocking remarks that sent a shiver through the market today. So this should actually be the biggest news of the day, but we'll come back to it at the end. Welcome to Good Morning America with Fang Wei. Hello to our YouTube audience and to our listeners on Sound of Hope, Silicon Valley, FM 961. All right, let's get into the main topics now. First, let's quickly go over the situation in the Middle East. On Saturday night, President Trump stated that because negotiations between the U.S. and Iran have made progress, he will suspend the planned military strike against Iran. President Trump said the U.S. military is ready, prepared to take action against Iran, and this military deterrence is the greatest since World War II. Despite this, Iran and other Middle Eastern countries have just requested that we hold off on any attacks because both sides have agreed on the basic framework of an agreement. Then, President Trump said that the agreement involves the immediate and full opening of the Strait of Hormuz and the elimination of Iran's nuclear threat. For this reason, President Trump said he agreed to cancel the strike, provided that an agreement can be reached quickly. Now, despite Trump's words and claims that Iran is pleading, in public, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson just said on Monday that the Strait of Hormuz will never return to its pre-war state of free navigation. Additionally, Reuters reported that Iran is pursuing a carefully designed escalation strategy, gradually increasing the economic and political costs for the U.S. and its allies until Washington becomes more willing to compromise, especially on the issue of the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian officials believe continued pressure leaves Trump no choice but to negotiate on their terms, including the $300 billion reconstruction plan in the recent MOU. Of course, with this news, oil prices dropped. Brent crude is now $83 or $84, while U.S. crude is at $80. All right, so I'll give a quick commentary here. I think Trump's macro view is to avoid fighting if possible, hoping to safely withdraw from the Middle East. But Iran is a rogue state. Either don't hit them or finish them off. You can't just pull out halfway. Isn't that how some things are, right? If you're going to do it, you have to see it through to the end. Well, this is a major event, but there's no easy resolution. I'll just keep you updated as things happen. All right, now let's move on to our main topic for today. Before that, let's take a moment to share two stories. These are both from my personal friends of mine. So a friend of mine, well, he just had dental implant surgery. Because there wasn't enough bone, the doctor performed what's called a sinus lift and bone grafting. The surgical area was quite large. After the surgery, this friend took one of these Jeju red sea cucumber extracts every morning and evening. After 10 days, he felt like his daily condition had basically returned to normal. When he went to the hospital to get those stitches out, the doctor was really surprised. Like, how was the recovery so much faster than expected? What was the reason? The reason is that after taking the red sea cucumber, he swished it around in his mouth, just like I did a while back, with that mouth ulcer. I just swished it around and wow, in one day it was gone. Anyway, now this red sea cucumber from South Korea's Jeju Island uses low temperature extraction technology through a special process that breaks down proteins into small molecule components that are easier for the body to absorb, making it more suitable for daily supplementation. Red sea cucumber itself is also rich in nutrients. For middle-aged and elderly friends, people with low energy, and also for post-surgery recovery, trauma recovery, or anyone who generally has a slow recovery speed for whatever reason, it's a very good choice. Okay, for friends with long-term maintenance needs, you can choose the monthly subscription plan. Starting from the second month, you can enjoy a discount of up to 20% off. Otherwise, it's 15% off. You can also pause or cancel at any time according to your needs. There's no obligation, no burden. So Fang Wei's exclusive purchase link is right below the program. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend you give it a try. If you've already tried it and like it, provided you like it, you should really consider the monthly subscription plan. All right, let's get back to today's news. This news headline is called "The CCP is locking the doors." Why exactly? Okay, so for this, I'm actually combining it with a netizen online. He has an account on X, and his name is Finding. I don't know his real name. I know he's a Christian and a conservative. He's in the United States, at the foot of the Rocky Mountains. Okay, basically, he wrote an article. I'll combine the main points of that article with my own views to give you an analysis. What does this read? He's saying that back then, a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, on the day New Oriental's stock price plummeted, many people thought it was just a one-time regulatory action against that specific field. On the day the 3 red lines for real estate were introduced, many people also thought, well, the CCP's policies change all the time anyway. It's just a temporary cooling of the housing market. On the day Alibaba was hit with a massive fine, many people thought it was just anti-monopoly enforcement targeting Alibaba, all isolated incidents. No one connected these things until today, when passports are being clipped, overseas securities accounts are being closed, and celebrities and entrepreneurs are being investigated one by one. Only then do you realize that the crackdowns on education, real estate, the internet, and capital outflow aren't just isolated cases, but the escape routes for the same group of people being cut off. Who is this same group of people? I'll talk about it later. So, regarding the crackdown on the tutoring industry, the double reduction policy, the day it was implemented, the tutoring industry died overnight. An entire industry was gone. After the 3 red lines and a series of real estate regulations were implemented, housing prices weren't allowed to rise where they should have, and in places where they should have fallen, no one was buying. As of today, the housing market's practically dead. For the vast majority of China's middle class, a house isn't just an asset, it's the sum total of their faith built up over the last 20 years. It's the result of emptying 6 wallets for a down payment. Parents, grandparents, and maternal grandparents. The only major thing left for the next generation. And this thing is now turning into a negative asset. And the crackdown on big tech companies has crushed the career dreams of white-collar workers, China's younger generation of professionals. Alibaba, Tencent, ByteDance, Meituan, Didi, and so on. Between anti-monopoly laws, massive fines, data security audits, and those common prosperity donations, which are really forced contributions, these measures have come one after another, effectively welding shut the ceiling for China's middle class. So if the middle class is being slowly locked down, then for the wealthy, it's a sudden raid. First, the initial step was salary caps for executives in finance and state-owned enterprises. Salary cap orders limiting pay, salary caps. Then came the celebrities, streamers, and influencers. As soon as they show off what's called flaunting wealth online, they're immediately banned. Their exorbitant fees are clawed back, and they're publicly shamed for tax evasion, often facing fines of hundreds of millions. Next, the target shifted to private entrepreneurs. With cross-provincial enforcement and long-distance fishing, plus audits going back 30 years, these tactics have panicked many into destroying their ledgers overnight. So these companies have become ATMs for local governments, a mechanism that can be triggered at any time. And finally, overseas capital channels were tightened at the same time. Platforms like Futu and Tiger Brokers faced forced restructuring. Personal currency exchange is strictly scrutinized, and hurdles are placed on buying overseas insurance or property. For the wealthy, this means wealth must be brought back to China. It's no longer safe anywhere else. So after China's middle class and the wealthy had their arsenals dismantled, only one line of defense remained. If I can't make money, I'll just leave. But now, with border control policies like no unnecessary travel, passports being clipped, increased surveillance, crackdowns on immigration agencies, and the censorship of the word run or runology, a new total system of personal control has been established. Capital can't get out anymore, and now it's the people's turn. Even if you have your passport, you might have been on a border control blacklist for a long time. You just don't know it yet. So there are 2 factors at play here. There are 2 other groups in China. One is the lower class. They're not hard to appease. A few benefits and a shot of nationalist fervor are enough to keep them excited and happy. As for the top-tier elites, they're already on board. Their interests are tied to the CCP, so they certainly won't rock the boat. What's dangerous to the CCP, what keeps them uneasy and awake at night, are these 2 segments, the middle and upper middle classes. Because China's middle class is educated, has traveled abroad, and seen the world, they know there's a gap between reality and the propaganda. And the rich, since they have money and resources, they can vote with their feet. They have that ability. These two groups together happen to have the three things this system fears most. First is insight, second is insight. First is money, second is insight, and third is the ability to flee. So in a way, Chinese society has formed a kind of olive-shaped society, like a football, small at the ends, big in the middle. This is a very positive phenomenon. The American model is an olive-shaped, football-shaped society. But for the CCP, that's never what they've wanted. They want a pyramid. Below is a massive, submissive base dependent on distribution. Above is an absolutely loyal top layer. This bulging middle part must be flattened until it disappears. So don't view these policies as just isolated, campaign-style regulatory actions. The choice they leave for China's middle class and the elite is to hand over wealth, hand over your children's future, hand over freedom itself in exchange for a ticket within the system to fully complete the public-private partnership of the new era, or the Xi era. So from then on, it's listen to the party and follow the party. This is the true purpose of all these systematic actions, this series of combined punches thrown from 2020 until today. This is the main viewpoint of this netizen finding. Another netizen asked if this is the latest experience Wang Huning just learned from North Korea, coming back to implement exit bans. Okay, so the CCP clearly thinks that if we follow North Korea, if that's the case, do they feel that by learning from North Korea seems to have an ironclad grip on power, an airtight regime? Even though there are only 3 fat people in the whole country and everyone else is looking famished, national security and regime security are not a problem. So the CCP can learn from North Korea. Is that so? I think there's a difference between China and North Korea. That difference is that once you've seen it, you can't pretend you haven't. Once you've heard it, you can't pretend you haven't. Thinking that learning from North Korea can achieve eternal rule, but it's very likely they're learning the wrong lessons and it will backfire. Because people who already understand can't play dumb anymore. And an enlightened heart is like boiling magma. It will erupt at any time and become the fire that destroys the CCP. So I feel that this is the difference between China and North Korea, because the North Korean people haven't come out, they can't see all this, but the Chinese people have been watching for 40 years. So here, I think our friends overseas, you know, at the end of the Qing dynasty, Sun Yat-sen also started from overseas, raising funds everywhere. So he said that overseas Chinese are the mother of the revolution, eventually leading to the fall of the Qing and the birth of the Republic of China, right? And today, the strength, insight, and influence of overseas Chinese far exceed those of the Hongmen, the Jilahui, and the Zhigangtong in the Chinatowns of that time. So if overseas Chinese care about China and support the Chinese people, I don't think the CCP can last much longer. So I'll say it again here. At this moment, when China's doors are rapidly shrinking, closing, and being shut tight, what we overseas do for the Chinese people, this one-click firewall jumping, is like a steady stream of fuel or a steady stream of spiritual food, allowing the Chinese people to maintain hope. This is the path to maintaining hope, including the understanding of all these policies. This is what they need to know. So I think I really still want to appeal to everyone. You know, at this moment, that knowledge from overseas is incredibly precious. In the darkest times, don't think it will stay dark forever. The darkest hour is exactly when the light is about to come, the darkness before the dawn. The CCP's perverse actions really won't last long. It's precisely because of fear that they do this. If they had confidence, they wouldn't act this way. So I think, to our friends overseas, I appeal to you once more. I sincerely appeal to you. Whether you can donate $10 or $20 or $1,000 or $2,000, it's all needed most right now. We can turn your donations into a path for the Chinese people to learn the truth, providing them with the ability to bypass the firewall with one click. All right, there are related links below. I also represent all our viewers, because recently another group of viewers has come forward to donate. On behalf of, I feel I can represent the Chinese people and even represent China's future to thank everyone who contributed today. Okay, next, a viewer asks, I'm a foreign citizen with a foreign passport. Do I need to worry? Do I need to worry if I return to China? I mentioned this yesterday, this topic last night. Now let's quickly recap. Since this news came out, there's something circulating online on a website about a Japanese resident. He said he was doing business in Japan, had lived there for 13 years, has 3 children, and his company in Japan reached 80 million yuan a year, employing over 40 people. But after returning, he was voluntarily forced to give up his Japanese citizenship and become a Chinese citizen. So some people say that's fake news. Well, regardless, whether it's fake news or not, we don't know for sure yet. Let's talk about a few pieces of real news instead. The first story is about Gui Minhai. I'll go over it quickly. I mentioned it yesterday, so a quick recap today. Gui Minhai, we know he's a Swedish citizen who obtained Swedish nationality in 1996. He lived in Hong Kong and ran the Causeway Bay bookstore. Later, this bookstore offended the CCP's top leadership, including Xi Jinping. In 2015, he was snatched from Thailand by Chinese police and brought back to China. The bookstore was later forced to close. Because China's nationality law doesn't recognize dual citizenship, right? So, since he obtained Swedish citizenship in 1996, it meant he had renounced his Chinese citizenship. So the Swedish government has always maintained that he's a Swedish citizen and that they must rescue him. But shortly after his arrest, he appeared on a confession program on CCP media saying he voluntarily returned to surrender because of a traffic accident. Well, it sounds like something nobody would believe. Then in 2022, Gui Minhai was sentenced to 10 years in prison and deprived of political rights for 5 years by the Intermediate Court in Ningbo, Zhejiang, on charges of illegally providing state intelligence abroad. The court specifically stated that in 2018, Gui Minhai applied to restore his Chinese citizenship. This means that in 2018, he supposedly applied to restore his Chinese citizenship just to stay in a Chinese prison so Sweden wouldn't rescue him. Is that even possible? Right? Of course, that's just a lie. The Swedish government says that, according to their legal procedures, for a citizen to renounce Swedish citizenship, it must undergo review and a formal decision by the relevant departments. The CCP government has no right to directly cancel a Swedish person's Swedish citizenship on their behalf. So they don't accept that Gui Minhai is no longer Swedish, but the problem is he's in the CCP's hands. What can Sweden do, right? So as you can see, this is how Gui Minhai, despite being a Swedish citizen, had his Chinese citizenship restored. Another prominent example is Jimmy Lai, whom President Trump couldn't even save. Jimmy Lai, the founder of Hong Kong's Apple Daily, was sentenced to 20 years for allegedly violating the CCP's national security law. Since he's in his 70s, it's basically a life sentence. But he became a British citizen in 1994, 3 years before the handover. So Britain claims he's a British national, entitled to British consular protection. But the CCP says, we don't recognize dual citizenship, he's a Chinese citizen. So what can be done? So you decide someone's a Chinese national? He gave up his Chinese citizenship when he became British. That's his right. But the CCP says no. If I say he's Chinese, then he's Chinese. As long as you have a Chinese face, I can decide you're a Chinese citizen. That's the CCP's current attitude, right? So now, when Britain tries to visit him as a British citizen to exercise consular protection, they're denied. Okay, those were two negative examples. Now for a positive one. Eileen Gu, right? The Chinese athlete in the Winter Olympics. She's 100% American, right? And yet she's 100% Chinese, isn't she? Otherwise, how could she compete for the Chinese Olympic team? That's the IOC rule. You must be a citizen of that country to compete. So, because the CCP needed her to win gold medals, even though China doesn't allow dual citizenship, it's fine for Eileen Gu. So the nationality law is like dough, right? The party can mold it however they want. Now, another example is the story of someone named Min Zin. Min Zin, this person is a well-known Burmese scholar. He's the founder of the Institute for Strategy and Policy, Myanmar, and a PhD candidate in political science at UC Berkeley. He frequently publishes in outlets like the New York Times, Foreign Policy, and NPR. He's an authority on Burmese politics, conflict, and China-Myanmar relations. The key is, he's a Burmese-American citizen with a U.S. passport. On June 3rd of this year, at the invitation of a Chinese academic institution, he flew to Kunming, Yunnan, and was arrested at the airport. In other words, he was invited for an academic visit, but was arrested upon entry. The CCP's Ministry of Foreign Affairs soon confirmed he was detained for suspected espionage endangering national security. He's still being held. Mind you, this person isn't Chinese. He was Burmese and is now American, yet he's still detained. 10 days after his arrest, the U.S. Embassy in China issued formal warnings for 3 straight days, from June 13th to 15th, advising certain U.S. citizens to be extra cautious in China. The warning was very clear. Americans of Chinese descent, or those linked to the U.S. government, public sector, or private institutions, face higher risks in China. Two reasons. First, China's arbitrary law enforcement, detention, and exit bans. Once it happens, there's no clear, transparent legal process to appeal or resolve it. This applies to the U.S. too. Even our embassy can't do anything about it. Second is the dual nationality trap. That is, the possibility of being voluntarily forced to renounce U.S. citizenship is entirely in the CCP's hands. So when you're in their hands, it's called being volunteered. You're volunteered to do many things, and the U.S. is powerless to help. Think about it. If even the United States can't do anything, is there any other country in the world that can? A former Reuters journalist, a British man named Peter Humphrey, who was himself detained in China, estimates that there are currently 300 Americans facing detention or exit bans in China. And he says that not a single one of them has received a fair trial. But of these 300 Americans, I'd guess that probably 99% are ethnically Chinese. That is, Chinese Americans. So the U.S. State Department issued another warning today. Now, this warning isn't directly related to the previous point, but it's in the same spirit. Using a VPN in China is unsafe. As you can see here, these are the State Department's exact words. In China, including for American visitors, when using mobile or other networks, you cannot expect privacy protections because these VPN providers are required to provide your data to the CCP's intelligence and security services. Okay, so as people say, even if you have foreign citizenship, do you really feel that safe? What do y'all think? What's your take? Should we do a poll? Do you think it's safe or not? With a foreign passport, do you feel safe? How do you feel about it? You can say safe, unsafe, or you don't know. Actually, we did a poll a couple of days ago. Can our editor find it? I'll read it out, and we'll see if anything has changed today. All right, moving on. Let's talk about, well, let's pause for a moment. I want everyone to look at my live stream and explain a concept called super chat. What exactly is a super chat? In English, it's called super chat, and in Chinese, we call it chajilian. What does it mean? It means while you're watching Feng Wei's show, right? This feature is only available during live broadcasts. On the right side of the screen, in the comments section, there's a chat area, right? In that chat area, you'll see something called super chat. There's a $sign. If you click that $sign, you'll see super chat, and then you can send a donation. Your comment becomes super. Why? Because you donated, your comment stays pinned at the top. Everyone can see it all the time. And I can see it too. Then I will, how should I put it? I'll read your comment out first. Now, it seems my editor set a goal of 10 super chats. Since we're still getting used to this, that might be hard. Let's just aim for 3, okay? Let's set it to 3 super chats. Yesterday, Hanley from San Francisco sent a donation and left a super chat. If you leave one, I'll definitely read it out, okay? So everyone can hear your perspective. Oh, today, one of our members, Vacuum Item, has already sent a donation. Thank you, thank you. This viewer says, forcing foreign citizens to renounce their current nationality and take up Chinese citizenship is equivalent to taking hostages from another country. Isn't that the truth? I think that's right. Personally, I see it as an act of war or terrorism. Doesn't CCP law say taking foreign citizenship means you automatically give up Chinese citizenship? Right, that's what they say, isn't it? So the Chinese government has automatically given up jurisdiction over former citizens who've naturalized abroad, right? If that foreigner hasn't broken your laws within your borders, the CCP's thuggish, gangster-like logic, this is just a rogue behavior. Right, with Jimmy Lai, with Min Shin, whom we just mentioned, with Gui Minhai, and even that Japanese family people are debating online right now. Then on the flip side, there's Eileen Gu. How many citizenships does she have? If she wants dual, she gets it. They do whatever they want. It's truly thuggish, trampling their own laws. Of course, their laws are only for others, never for themselves. That's just how it is. Okay, let's see. To send a super chat, try it out. There's a $sign by the comment box. Click that $sign, and you'll see the super chat option to join. Let's see. This is also a way to support Feng Wei's show. If we get 3, we'll give away 3 free, 3 memberships. We'll give them to viewers through a lucky draw. Anyone who comments can win. Of course, to leave a comment here, you must be subscribed to Feng Wei's channel first. So there's that. Okay, let's see if there are other viewers. Mo Wang Yan Jibo says, don't take unnecessary risks. Unless it's absolutely necessary, don't go to China. Honestly, I think that's a safe way to go about it. All right, next, let's talk about something that happened in the United States. It's a simple story, but it's very, very significant. It's called One Gunman Against Two Guns. A heroic caregiver, a nursing worker, prevented a major tragedy. What happened? So, this past Saturday in Twin Falls, Idaho, there's an In-N-Out burger. This burger joint had just recently opened. It's in the city's commercial district, and it was very busy on Saturday. How many of us have eaten at In-N-Out? Has anyone here had it? Do you like it? I think In-N-Out is popular wherever it goes because their fries are fresh cut. They're not stored or frozen or anything like that. They're cut right there. So they're very, very tasty. Then a gunman with an AR rifle started shooting. He killed 2 people and wounded several others. Then this guy ran into the parking lot. At a Tesla charging station, he started firing wildly at car windows. An off-duty officer and an armed citizen both drew their weapons and returned fire, catching him off guard. Before police arrived, 2 people were already shooting back. He retreated into a corner and took his own life. That whole sequence of events prevented even greater casualties. So in the end, 3 people died. One of those 3 was him, so there were likely only 2 victims, but 7 people were injured. That citizen was a 35-year-old from Kimberly named Jordan Salinas. You see, that's him. He's a caregiver, a medical worker. He takes care of his brother in a wheelchair. He's his brother's full-time caregiver. After he experienced a shooting incident in 2021, he started to do firearms training for himself. Now, he had never used a gun before, but in the 5 years from 2021 until now, he says he's been able to observe, locate, make decisions, pull the trigger, and take action. So because of his and another off-duty police officer's active participation on the scene, this incident, it avoided, even greater casualties and saved many lives. The Twin Falls Sheriff, Jack Johnson, said that these people are the true heroes of our community. Now, let me make a comment. You see, this is good people with guns. When good people have guns, do bad people still dare to kill randomly? What exactly is a gun? A gun is just a weapon, just a tool. If a bad person gets a gun, it can amplify their lethality. If a good person gets a gun, to put it bluntly, it can increase their enforcement power, allowing them to participate in enforcement, right? Now, President Trump is pushing something called National Concealed Carry. What is concealed carry? That is a nationwide gun permit. That is to say, because of guns, the Second Amendment stipulates that it's a human right, an inherent right for Americans. Everyone knows in the Declaration of Independence, we say Americans have 3 rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The right to life, owning a gun to defend oneself, this is part of the right to life in America. So what is national concealed carry? Concealed means hidden carry, like if I put my gun here, you can't see it. This is called concealed carry. It needs a permit. How is this permit given? President Trump advocates 2 ways. Both are fine. Either some states recognize concealed carry and some don't, like California, which doesn't. In most cases it doesn't, but many red states do. If a state gives you a concealed carry permit, all states nationwide must allow you. That's one way. The second way is for the federal government to step in, and everyone has the right to concealed carry, so states don't have to worry. That's the situation. Regardless, the issue of whether guns can be owned by everyone is a huge debate in the United States. Every time there's a mass shooting, there's how should I put it, a very large debate. I don't know what you think. What do you think? So let me share my view. I think in a society with a sound legal system, including gun laws, and generally high moral standards, the public should generally have the right to concealed carry, the right to own guns. Think about it. If it were like this, those who go to schools to massacre, kill randomly on the streets, or shoot at In-N-Out, they would know they could encounter armed citizens at any time because everyone has the right to concealed carry. Would they still dare? You might pull out a gun and fire the first bullet, and then be hit by several bullets. Would you still dare to do evil? How much evil would it deter? So I think in a society with many good people, because it's a tool, right? In a society with many good people, gun rights should be universal. But if there are many bad people and the law is weak, everyone having guns would lead to chaos. But I think from an American perspective, gun ownership is a vital safeguard for the right to life. Back then, with the Bill of Rights coming from England, it was about bows and swords. Do you think the king ever thought people couldn't have bows or swords at home? That was their version of gun rights, right? Then, after the Glorious Revolution, the King of England accepted this. So, Americans see it as a natural right. How can someone not have the right to defend themselves? If you can defend yourself, you should be able to own a bow, a sword, or a gun, right? So the fundamental reason is that people need to protect their rights to prevent tyranny and government corruption. So I'd say a society that protects natural rights and stays vigilant against tyranny, such a nation has a strong rule of law and moral citizens, so they should be allowed to own guns, in my opinion. That's why I strongly advocate for a nationwide concealed carry policy across the United States. What's your take on this? What do you think? Do you agree with it? If everyone carried a gun, do you think society would be safer or less safe? Feel free to share your views. It's perfectly fine if you disagree with me. Now let's talk about the Federal Reserve's recent move. The Fed's statement today after their meeting really spooked the market. It's the biggest story of the day. Anyway, as a Chinese language media outlet, our main headline isn't this, but listen closely to the following news. It might seem off topic, but it's absolutely critical. This year, the market has faced challenges like war, tariffs, and inflation, right? Wall Street relies even more on the Fed for forward guidance, specifically on what they'll do with interest rates. We need to factor that in. Otherwise, there's even more uncertainty. However, the new Fed chairman, Kevin Warsh, said at the latest rate press conference that they won't disclose if or when they might hike rates. Okay, even though 3 of the 12 FOMC members want an immediate hike, the market was eager to hear the chairman's plan or some policy direction. Warsh said nothing at all. This is a complete break from tradition, because the Fed's job is to use policy to guide everyone's decision-making and reduce risk. At least, that's the conventional wisdom. But Warsh says the market should guide the central bank, not the other way around. We're staying quiet and letting the market operate on its own. Several investment banks were stunned. Morton Norton, chief investment strategist at Empower, said the Fed's performance at the press conference was shocking. With so many risks already, does the Fed's rate uncertainty just add another layer of risk? The market immediately fluctuated violently, and even late-day selling pressure emerged on the U.S. stock market's decision day. And the S&P 500 index recorded its worst Fed decision day performance since December 2024. The yield on the U.S. 10-year Treasury bond jumped to its highest point since January of last year, 2025. And the VIX, the fear index, also broke 20. So, as just mentioned, Wall Street has always believed that the Fed used forward-looking guidance to reduce market volatility in the past. Now that policy signals are decreasing, investors can only demand higher risk premiums to cope with the uncertainty of government policy. Really? Okay, so facing this doubt, what did Kevin Warsh say? Kevin Warsh said, "We want the market to guide the central bank, not the central bank to guide the market." Okay, he said that investors should learn to play the game and not always look at the referee. But market people believe that when there are already many variables like tariffs, the Middle East situation, and oil price fluctuations, the Fed is not only the referee on the field, but also a player on the field. What do you think? What does everyone think about this? I think Kevin Warsh's approach is absolutely correct. The Fed influences the economy by setting interest rates, or by releasing the direction of interest rate policy to influence the economy. This itself is not helping the economy. It is interfering with the operation of a free economy. Sticking a hand into a well-functioning economic machine, his intention is good to reduce volatility, a very good intention, but it backfires. In fact, there's never been a good result. Well, one of the purposes of establishing the Fed was to reduce inflation, right? We all know that $1 when the Fed was established in 1913 is only worth 4 cents now. Did it play in this role? It didn't. So if the Fed doesn't speak and lets everyone in the market use their own judgment to assess risk and make decisions, only then can a free economy thrive, and a free economy will thrive. Do you know what a free economy is? I've told you before, it's 4 phrases: freedom to buy, freedom to sell, freedom to produce, and freedom to go bankrupt. Right? So everyone knows whether I want to buy this stock, and everyone knows whether I want to sell this stock. This is your decision. Don't rely on anyone else. So when everyone has freedom, that invisible hand of the economy will play the best role. Otherwise, what can be done? You know, we all look at the company's earnings reports for this quarter. If the earnings are good, the stock goes up. If the earnings are bad, the stock falls. Isn't that normal? You know that now. If the U.S. economy's good, stocks fall. If employment's good, stocks fall. Conversely, if the economy's bad, stocks rise. If employment's bad, stocks will rise. This phenomenon often occurs. Why are there all these strange phenomena? Why doesn't it react like a company? Doesn't it violate common sense? It's because the Fed is stuck in the middle, isn't it? If the economy's good, everyone worries about the economy overheating. Then the Fed always has to control the overheating economy, so it will definitely raise interest rates. Well, since interest rates are rising, our stocks lose value and they're gonna drop. The stock market is gonna drop. It's because the Fed stepped in, and now the stock market no longer looks at the economy. Well, it's not that it never looks, but it often ignores the economy and just watches the Fed. The Fed? What does the operation of the entire economy have to do with you? Aren't you just guessing there? You're just guessing, yet your guess has become a crucial link in the entire economic ecosystem. Is that right? What it brings are these very strange phenomena in the United States economy. Why are the United States economy and the United States stock market like a company, right? If you do well, you're rewarded. If you do poorly, you're punished. Why turn it into such a strange phenomenon? So the Fed is actually distorting the economy, and it hasn't fulfilled any of the promises it made when it was founded in 1913. It hasn't solved anything. So on this point, I also feel that, you see, Trump really needs to lower interest rates now because he needs the economy to stay strong. But he didn't pick someone who would just obey him and cut rates immediately. He picked someone who understands economics himself. He picked Kevin Warsh. If he can stick to his approach, that's my perspective on it. You know, I've said before that the Fed should actually be, to a large extent, abolished. But how could you possibly abolish it, right? A century-old institution? Would Congress ever agree to that? But if you find a Fed chair who chooses to play a smaller and smaller role, that's essentially like abolishing it, isn't it? So I really agree with Kevin Warsh. This is someone who truly understands free market economics serving as the Fed chair. That's just my view. Many of you here are experts in economics, and I welcome you to express your differing opinions, okay? We could have a debate or even do a follow-up program. All right, now we have another viewer, actually the same viewer, who sent another super chat to Fang Wei. Thank you very much. This viewer's name is Van Kooten. I can't quite pronounce it. You say that any totalitarian tyranny and large-scale one-sided massacres are based on one side lacking the force for self-defense. If every mentally sound person had the right to bear arms, any bad actor would have to weigh the cost of killing innocents and committing evil before acting. Then the kind of one-sided massacre that happened years ago at Dawson College in Montreal, Canada would never have occurred. 911 cannot possibly provide timely or effective protection. Right, you're talking about the police. You call them, and no matter how fast they are, it takes 8 or 10 minutes to arrive, right? That's enough time to kill a lot of people. What the far left in Canada is doing is demonizing the weapons themselves. It's the same logic as the CCP chaining up kitchen knives or demonizing Trump. Yeah, I completely agree with your view. In a mature Western society with the rule of law, the right to bear arms is a way to enhance what we call social security. Because when every citizen becomes an enforcer, what can the bad guys do? The bad guys will be trembling with fear. And then another one of our members, Lee Cow, also said how wonderful it would be if the Fed returned to its original role. He put it so well, didn't he? Everyone should just play the game well and stop constantly staring at the referee. If you play the game well, everything will be fine, right? The referee will just call it as they should, and that's it. This kind of common sense, now almost everyone, well, not everyone, but the vast majority of people believe that the Fed's role is just a matter of course. No, not like that at all. The Fed is a hand that interferes with the economy. Now we have a chairman who's willing to take a back seat, to step back and do the right thing. Isn't that just a wonderful thing, right? Okay, next, let's talk about 2 other news items that are also quite important. What's this news about? It's quite interesting. Since large overseas AI models like OpenAI and Anthropic can't be accessed in mainland China, many companies there have set up API relay stations to help people indirectly use models like ChatGPT and Claude. But now, these relay models and services are being shut down by the police one after another. In Chongqing, there is a company called Yunjiwu Network Technology. They set up an API service called Yunwu. Well, they recently issued a notice saying that because their contract with overseas suppliers expired, they completely shut down access at the very last minute of last month. All API requests have stopped, and users are told to migrate their business as soon as possible. Another relay station, according to a group chat screenshot, received a call from Hangzhou police. The company is based in Hangzhou. They were summoned and disciplined, ordered to shut down their unauthorized large model relay station within a set time frame. So the relay station then announced it was closing and would refund users who had purchased packages. Also, several Xiaohongshu users reported that relay stations like Yunwu have suspended overseas model services for GPT and Claude. In short, some larger relay stations are being summoned for talks, while some smaller ones with fewer users can still barely be used. Who knows how much longer they'll last? Why is this happening? What do you think? Why? The reason might be simple. Just like search engines, you can't use them in China because they haven't been tamed by the CCP. It's the same with models. How can you just jump to the outside world? What if these foreign AI models say something the CCP doesn't like? How could they control that? So any AI that isn't tamed is off limits for Chinese people. But also, it might be to protect China's AI industry. Just like when Google was kicked out, it gave Baidu room to survive. It's the same thing. Similar functions, but the main reason is the former. You can't use AI that hasn't been tamed by the CCP. So the CCP is working hard to ensure that all of China returns to a frog in a well AI model. Okay, the next news item is a quick one. One of the core leaders of Asia's largest scam syndicate, the Prince Group, named Hu Xiaowei, was recently extradited from Japan to the US. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Prince Group. I haven't actually done a show on them yet, but I'd like to if I get the chance. This group is headquartered in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. They faced international sanctions for their involvement in transnational telecom fraud and human trafficking. Then in 2025, the governments of the United States and the United Kingdom designated the Prince Group as the largest criminal syndicate in Asia. Its head, Chen Ji, and the second-in-command, Hu Xiaowei, have both been added to the sanctions list. And a financial influencer on Kaijing.com, Hu Kaiping, stated that the Prince Group is not only involved in telecom fraud, gambling, and money laundering, but also serves as an overseas enforcer for the CCP. It previously assisted the CCP in pressuring Pacific Island nations to break off diplomatic relations with Taiwan. So in January of this year, Chen Ji was escorted back to China from Cambodia. On July 6, the CCP announced his so-called official arrest, but he's essentially being kept under protection. However, the number 2 man, Hu Xiaowei, was arrested in Osaka, Japan for allegedly submitting false housing documents to fraudulently obtain residency. He has now fallen into the hands of the Americans. The U.S. Department of the Treasury also further announced sanctions against 9 high-level executives and 65 entities associated with the Prince Group. Okay, well, let's see if any of our viewers have any questions right now. Let's take a look and discuss them together. Regarding this, before I address the questions, if you're a new viewer, please remember to hit the subscribe button. Click subscribe and turn on the little bell so you won't miss any notifications for future episodes of Fang Wei's show. All right, let's look at the poll results. We have 130 votes in so far. Regarding the CCP closing its doors and locking up the country, is this something you're worried about? 68% said they are worried, which is over 2/3 of the total. 21% are not worried and 11% are unsure. So those are the latest statistics. All right, thank you all very much. Okay, also, I want to remind everyone of one thing. Never use WeChat's built-in browser to visit foreign government websites. This is because, technically, it uses a reverse proxy to a server in China and then accesses the website you want to visit through that Chinese server. I have already verified this myself. There is a serious risk of information leakage, so please pay attention. Do not use the built-in browser within WeChat to access the outside internet, all right? Okay, furthermore, someone abroad named Wang Hai said that people living overseas simply cannot return to China. There is a line from a movie: don't look back, don't think about us, don't write letters to us, don't feel homesick, just keep moving forward. Ahead of you is the wilderness and the vast sea. Wow, that is really quite touching. It's really sad to hear words like that. Yeah, many people in China might only be able to say things like this to their relatives living abroad. But what I want to say is, for those of us overseas, we must not forget China. We should never forget China. Those who enjoy freedom cannot forget about China. So I feel the same way myself. Although I primarily focus on topics related to the United States, I did come from China after all. China's transformation and China winning its freedom have always been my wish and the goal I strive for. I also hope that our audience members share this same wish with me, right? Because, yeah, for those of us who are living in happiness, we should think of those who are not so fortunate. I believe this is a fundamental requirement of being a human being. Don't you agree? Oh, by the way, regarding the 189 votes that just came in, the earlier one was a poll from 2 days ago. This one is from 15 minutes ago. With a foreign passport, do you think it is safe to travel to China? 70% say it's unsafe, while 12% think it's safe. It has changed this much in just 2 days. 18% are unsure. Right, yeah, it really makes you sigh. Okay, thank you everyone. Also, I met many friends over the weekend on the founding journey. I'm very happy, very happy. Also, several viewers said they really like Fangway Finance. Because I was too busy last week, I didn't update it. Updates will resume this week, 3 times a week. They're all what I think are very good, financial stories. They don't just explain principles, but also history. I think combined with Fangway Time, with United States-centric topics, it'll be a great learning channel. You might want to go over and subscribe so you won't miss Fangway's notifications. Fangway Finance. Also, yesterday on the Fang Xian Wei program, Xin Tian sang the United States national anthem. What's so special about Xin Tian singing the national anthem? He couldn't sing it before. The United States national anthem is very hard to sing. What's my evaluation of the United States national anthem? Excellent lyrics and music, very beautiful, and also very difficult to sing. I don't know how many people can sing it. If any of you viewers can sing the United States national anthem very well, could you leave a comment and let us know? Maybe no one among the Chinese community. But I hope I'm wrong. If you sing it very well, could you please leave a comment? Last night we were joking, well, not joking, we were thinking, should we open a special session, a Zoom call? If you want to sing the United States national anthem, you can join in, and we'll find a time today to teach everyone. Because the United States national anthem is hard to sing, right? There are some tricks to it. If you master them, you'll learn fast. You might even learn it in half an hour, or maybe 2.5 hours. I think it's very meaningful, including understanding the story behind the United States national anthem. So if you're interested, leave a comment, okay? Let us know. Also, you can check out yesterday's, go back and listen to Xin Tian's singing segment from yesterday. Maybe I'll post it in the group. You can try, just listen and see how he sang. He's certainly not a singer, definitely not. Don't have such high expectations. It's just that he couldn't sing it before, but now he can. He can hit the notes, that's the thing. You might want to go listen to it. Okay, so if you're interested, everyone leave a comment, okay? We'll see how many are interested. Then maybe we'll really arrange an online session to learn the United States national anthem and its history together, okay? Okay, also a viewer named Simon said Chinese artificial intelligence is really stupid. When asked to organize recent natural disasters in China, the artificial intelligence only gave official Chinese Communist Party data. The statistics and related info didn't match. For example, to regulate numbers, the death toll for the Gansu earthquake later became 0. My goodness. Yes, Mo Wang Yanji, Mo said the government's self-righteous interference is the greatest harm to the economy. Right, exactly. So the Federal Reserve that everyone knows might not even need to exist. So that's what's happening today. Okay, so today we talked about several things. We talked about the current situation in mainland China and the essence behind these situations. We talked about gun rights in the United States, and we talked about the United States Federal Reserve, whether it should exist, and the attitude of the new Federal Reserve Chairman. All in all, I think it was quite meaningful. I hope it helps everyone. That's our share for today. Of course, if you disagree with my viewpoint, that's no problem. Go ahead and share your thoughts below, and we can discuss them. Also, over in the community, everyone can post there. If you start a discussion, I'll definitely take a look. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.